Okay. We're rolling.
I'm going to start with a few questions for the record.
Okay.
Tell us your name,
Richard Ault,
your years of service in the Marine Corps,
4 years, 1966 through 1970.
and where did you go to boot camp?
San Diego, January of 66.
And what was your MOS?
It kept changing, but it was mostly aircraft mechanic, engine mechanic.
Did you choose that MOS, or did the Marine Corps choose it for you?
The Marine Corps chose it. I went in aviation guarantee, which meant I could do anything that was involved with the aviation. They allowed me to go to engine school, flight school, and then helicopter school.
And why did you choose aviation overall? Was that something you had been interested in for a long time?
Oh no, I wanted to join the Marine Corps, but I didn't really want to be a ground pounder. So someone said, it's a lot safer in the air wing. So that sounded pretty good to me.
Sounded good. Did it end up being a lot safer, do you think?
I think so.
You think so?
I do, yeah, because I pulled too many of those guys out. Definitely safer.
Wow. And so now let's jump ahead a little bit and talk about the Bird 18 project. How did you first hear about Stuart Beanie and his group?
We were having a memorial reunion in South Carolina at the Marine Corps Museum, and we had a great gathering, and I was introduced to a gentleman named Paul Turner, and a British guy that I didn't understand real well, and he just had a myriad of questions about what we did in the war and what I did, and the questions just kept coming. And then he started asking about how we identified the aircraft, and he asked me what my bird number was, and I told him, to the best of my recollection, it was aircraft number 18, and hence Bird 18.
Bird 18. And so since then, you've provided a lot of background information and photographs, and given your experience, told your experiences to Stuart and Paul Turner and the whole group. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It was really interesting. Paul kind of started doing other things, and I became more personally involved with Stuart, and he was so easy to talk to, so interested in what went on. And this stuff had really kind of just sat in the background for a long time. So it was really easy to just talk about, you know, the good things, the rough things, we talked about what it took to keep these airplanes running, and what we did to keep them flying. And it was pretty much just kind of pick a day out of the midair and say, well, this is what we did, which was pretty much what we're going to do tomorrow. So it was just a kind of a natural little progression of history.
And you said that you hadn't thought about some of those things in a long time.
No, not a long time.
And how was that with all those memories coming back, the good ones and the bad ones? How was that for you?
It was confusing at first. You spend a lot of time making the conscious effort to forget some things. Not so much the pain of it, it's just the idea of it. Right. You know, it wasn't progressive. Life moves on, and you have other things to focus on. But it was strange kind of bringing some of that stuff up again. My wife was wonderful about keeping photo albums. And she's pulling out photo albums I didn't even know existed.
Oh, wow.
And we're going through the pictures, and she and I had met prior to me going over on my second tour, So she got to kind of live my tour, my second tour, secondhand. So she had some pretty good ideas of what was going on anyway. And she was wonderful about keeping things organized. I'm not terribly organized. And she was wonderful about that.
And how has it been to reconnect with your old squadron mates here this week?
It has been an incredible experience. I don't know what the average person, what their expectation is of something like this, maybe going to a high school reunion or something if they've never been in. But it was this, I can't say it was hurtful or it was healing. It was just great. It was wonderful seeing these people again. It's interesting, we look at these people and haven't seen them in 50 some odd years, and yet your mind still has this vision of a person who, when you first met, was 19, 20 years old. I think that's the thing that we all found rather amazing, especially when we look at society today, and think what we did at 19 years old. Shucks, I can't even believe I did half of that stuff at 19 years old.
Seemed like another lifetime.
Yeah, and another person. I just, it's like I'm kind of looking at geez, that's kind of neat.
And how different is it when you're with your fellow Marines here to reminisce about these experiences you had, as opposed to somebody who never served or didn't serve with you and you're telling them your stories? How is that different, that you've got this shared experience you can talk about?
Someone actually brought that up here recently, and there's this kind of a bond, if you will. You know what the other person's been through because you both were there, so you don't need to talk about it. It's already there. You can talk. You can walk up to somebody that you haven't seen in 50-something odd years, and shake hands, embrace, and just start talking, and it's like you never left. You have this connection that's unspoken.
So you're still brothers.
Yeah, and especially I think the Marine Corps was very good about that. They taught us to be dependent, not on ourselves, but on the guy behind you. Have faith that he's going to do his job, and therefore you're going to do your job because of the guy in front of you. So there's this link that just never breaks.
Which makes it even tougher when you did lose someone at the time.
It did, because the guy in front of you is not there anymore, so somebody else has got to fill the slot. And that happens quickly, so it's not something you dwell on a lot. I did anyway.
You have to keep going.
You got to keep moving. And then someone made the comment earlier about time heals all ills. I don't frankly believe that. I believe it just masks it, and that's good enough.
Makes it a little easier to handle.
Yeah, and justify.
Yeah.
It's the justification part that gets difficult sometimes, especially when you look at how things eventually turned out. It's like, what in the world were we doing there to begin with?
And when you came home, you all weren't, as a group, military veterans weren't treated so well.
No.
And I won't get into a lot of that if you prefer not to.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I haven't talked about it because really nobody was interested, so I just buried it. But yeah, when we came home, we talked about this earlier, flying into San Francisco International Airport in January of '68. The country was in kind of a turmoil. There was a lot of folks that didn't believe in what the military was doing, what our government was doing. And it didn't matter whether we believed. This is what we were told to do. This is what we volunteered to do. So just do your job. And when we came home, we weren't treated real well. We were treated pretty poorly. that was probably one of the more difficult things, and that's one of the things that I had trouble burying, is how could somebody that I'm supposed to have this link with, you speak my language, you wear the same clothes I do, you go the same places I go, but you absolutely do not like me and you don't even know me, and you tell me so. And that gets difficult.
Especially when you were risking your life so many days in a row. To have
Well,
that.
yeah, but you don't give a whole lot of thought to that. I think some of the guys, and I can't speak for everybody, but I know myself, if I fixated too much on getting hurt, I'd be a basket case. You just don't give it a whole lot of thought. We used to talk about when your number's up, it's up. Meanwhile, just do your job. So, yeah, when you come home and they don't, the folks that you're interfacing with, they don't know where you've been, what you've done, whether you were a good person, bad person. They just know that they don't like you. And then my thought is, then why did you come to the airport to see us? Just to harass us? And that didn't make any sense. So I'm so pleased the way things are going today with the folks coming back from the Mideast and wherever their tours are. They're coming home to welcome home parties and family that wants to see them. My family wanted to see me, but they didn't want to talk about it.
Really?
Yeah.
And so all these years, did you ever talk about your time in Vietnam with your family?
Not much. And my father was a World War II vet. He was part of the D-Day invasion, along with most of the males in his family. He didn't want to hear about it.
He didn't. And what about your children? Did they ask questions as they were growing up and learning about Vietnam in school?
Actually, my daughter did. She found a bunch of my Leatherneck magazines.
Oh, great.
From the mid-'60s, and she just devoured those magazines. And
for her.
she just was so fascinated. My boys, they were somewhat interested, which shocked me when they both joined the Marine Corps. I didn't see that coming at all. But yeah, my oldest boy, Evan, did over 12 years in the Marine Corps, 2 tours in the Mideast, and very proud of him. And I actually got to go to an event not too long ago and wore his uniform because I didn't have mine anymore. And we had all the same stripes. And
Oh, wow.
and a fit.
That's great. Well, let's go back again to Bird 18.
Certainly.
And one of the things that I've talked to Stuart and the other guys about is their attention to detail.
Amazing. If we had those guys in 67, 68, we would have had a much better aircraft. Their attention to detail was just unbelievable. They realized that there was a component that they hadn't factored in, a hoist on an aircraft, and they asked me about it, and I said, well, not all of us had it. He said, well, some did. I said, yeah. You got any pictures? And they wanted pictures from every angle, and they wanted it absolutely perfect. Their attention to detail was just, I've never experienced anything like that, and I spent a lot of years in engineering where you're supposed to have attention to detail, but these guys take it to a whole new level.
And how does that feel, knowing that they're so dedicated to telling the story of VMO-6 and specifically Bird 18?
I keep asking the same question of them. What is it that you guys saw in this unit that caught your interest? And they just felt that it was the right thing to do. And I've never been so flattered in all my life that these guys want to know what we did, how we did it, how did we enjoy a day. It's just what friends we made, what have we done since. What they've done for VMO-6, for the Marine Corps, is beyond explanation, and I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and I've been around for a while, so I've seen them done a lot of things. These guys are amazing, and they did it all from across the pond, as they call it, without even meeting any of us, yet we feel like we're so much a family.
And I see you've all gotten to spend a lot of time together and visit with each other, and they presented you with a mug this morning. And talk a little bit about that and how it is to be around them. You feel like you know them already?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, we've been emailing, we've been making some phone calls and visiting, and you get to know somebody pretty well. But when you actually get to make eye contact, and you get a sense of who they are, and they are exactly as they portrayed themselves. These are the genuine people that we've been communicating with for years, and it's like we've always been together.
And they certainly don't seem to be seeking any special attention.
No.
They seem a little bit
Isn't that amazing?
wary of being front and center.
No, they don't. They keep stepping back. You know, I want them up here in front of me because this is what they're all about. These guys have put so much work, and this is a hobby. They've got a whole job and families, and they're putting more into this project than I did.
So, would you consider them the keepers of the VMO-6 legacy?
Absolutely, forever and ever. I'm not aware of anybody, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that's done this kind of thing before for somebody or someplace. I know my father was involved in a historical review of Normandy, and he went back to Ohio to tell his story, and then it was kind of just over. Well, with Stuart and the Bird 18 folks, this is going to go on forever. There's no reason why it shouldn't, just because of what they're putting into it, long after we're gone.
And talk about the actual Bird 18.
Yeah.
About your Bird 18 in Vietnam. Can you share any stories about that?
Yeah. You know, kind of typical of the way the military does things. I wasn't even trained on jet engines, and I had never in my life seen or heard of a Huey. I had no clue what it even looked like until I got to Vietnam. I came out of training and went to Vietnam. They gave me my orders, told me to go down that way, and somebody will direct me. And I came down off this hill, and I'm looking down at the airplanes, and I see the H-34s, I recognize them. The H-53s, I recognize them. And these little mosquitoes over here on the side, these things were small. And I walked past the birds, and I'm looking at this thing, thinking, that's a heck of an exhaust pipe. It was a jet engine, and I had never worked on a jet engine. And welcome to VMO. And I had mentors that were just absolutely amazing people, mechanics that had, like myself, come up through recips, and now we're doing jets, and we're doing it doggone well. I had a section leader, Staff Sergeant Alan Storms, we called him Stormy. He was amazing. I wish I could remember some of the other names now. He took an interest in all of us in his section and made sure that we were all performing to our expectations, not his. And he just really brought our little unit together. I had a very old aircraft when I first joined his section. It went in for overhaul, and I got a new Bird, and it was the new engine, the new rotor head. It was faster, carried more fuel load, and it was what we called the 540. It was a beautiful aircraft. And for being a little mosquito on the side of the flight line, I was very proud to be a crew chief on a Huey helicopter. I was very proud of the people I got to work with, the pilots, the other crews, the mechanics in the shops. You never get a chance to hear about the guys that worked in the hydraulic shop or metal shop. We all worked together as a team, especially the ordnance guys, and they just did a phenomenal job. The bird itself was, it took a lot of attention to keep it flying, but they taught us well, and Bell made us a darn good aircraft, and we kept it running.
And what was a typical day like, if there was a typical day?
The typical day starts with it's going to be very long. Sleep was something you really treasured. If you weren't flying, you were working on it. It's just that simple. And if for some reason you weren't flying, you weren't working on your bird, you were helping somebody else work on their bird. There again, the teamwork. You know, if everybody's bird is flying and capable of flying, and the crews are available, we all would fly just a little less. We could spread the wealth.
Right.
These were amazing helicopters. The firepower we had just made us feel like we were really helping somebody.
Were there types of missions you preferred?
Yeah. on some days, a quiet mission's nice, but at the same time, we're there to do a job, or do a task, and you want to do it to the best of your ability. And when you get a call that somebody is in need of a gunship, it's like, I want to go. And I've had some amazing opportunities. I've worked all kinds of different missions, resupply, medevac, gun support. The infantry is absolutely amazing, regardless of what kind of uniform it is. I've worked with the Koreans, the Army, of course the Marine Corps, and they all have the same goal: get the job done and come back healthy. And so I always enjoyed the fact that I might have been able to contribute to that a little bit.
And Marine aviation has a special relationship with Marines on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? It's very different than what the other services train for and their ethos.
In the Marine Corps, you know, like I said before, you're always trained to rely on the guy behind you to take care of your back. And you're going to do the same for the guy in front of you. Well, in the Marine Corps, they're very careful about not categorizing people and keeping them in that category. They encourage the people to spend time. We have infantry people that would come into the unit and fly as gunners for us. That gave them an opportunity to see what we do, and which I found was interesting. The first time I had an experience like that, we had several infantry guys on my bird, and it started to get a little bit noisy, and these guys are looking around like, where do you hide? There's no place to hide. This thing's all aluminum. It's a big can opener. So we learned to rely on each other's and each other's skills. If ever were the case that I was going to end up on the ground for whatever given reason, I had absolutely no concern whatsoever that I could take care of myself, because I knew there was going to be somebody else who was better at that, and he was going to take care of me.
Every Marine a rifleman, right?
Every Marine's a rifleman.
And the skills you learned and that ability to trust and rely on the Marines behind you, next to you, did you take those skills forward into your life after the Marine Corps? Did those things serve you well?
I believe so. I've always been told I was a team player, maybe a few times, too many times, a team leader when I felt we needed one. But yeah, I've always tried to instill in my own family and the people that I've worked with over the years, and I always found it rather amazing. I always managed to go up a little bit higher than I had planned. But I always was driven, felt driven to just take it up another level. I was never really out to impress anybody. I just wanted to impress myself. And it's just like, well, another step. I learn another task, do a different job. And I was always interested in what somebody else was doing for a living. And found myself working in engineering, and I never had any desire to be an engineer. But I was interested in what they did for a living and how they did it. And so I was accepted into their circle.
And do you think that all came from your Marine Corps training?
Without doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, because they push you, but then you push yourself. They give you the skills to handle it when you're pushed and to overcome whatever the obstacle is ahead of you and move on and take on the next task. So there's no question, if I hadn't gone into the Marine Corps, I would not have accomplished as much as I did in my civilian life. That laid a great groundwork for me and a work ethos that was so important.
What was your best day in the Marine Corps?
Probably the day I got out. My best day, geez. It's
Day
kind
you
of,
graduated from boot camp?
you know, those are all the steps that get
Right.
you there, you know. But yeah, there were probably a few days in boot camp where I didn't think I was going to see graduation day. But when I did, it was gone, done. I think when I first got to Vietnam, because that was something that I didn't know what to anticipate. I had no idea what the expectations were of those around me or even of myself, because every step I took was something new and not many more people were going to do it. I think there was that realization that I was going to do something that most people couldn't possibly imagine, and I was going to do it every day for 13 months. So yeah, my best day was going overseas.
And did you feel prepared when you got there? Prepared for whatever it was you might encounter?
I was mentally prepared. I was scared. But yeah, the Marine Corps is really good about kind of getting back to the basics and building you back up and teaching you to be reliant on yourself. Take whatever's in front of you and work it to your advantage. If it's in the middle of the night, take advantage of the fact that it's dark. If it's sun shining, then take advantage of the fact that you can move quicker. So yeah, I never felt like whatever was in front of me, I can't do. I've never really had that attitude of I can't do that. I might stumble, I might be concerned, but I'll never say I can't.
That's a good attitude.
Never thought of it before.
It is a good attitude. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think I should know or that people should know either about your Marine Corps service, Bird 18, or the Bird 18 project?
We've talked about so much over the last couple of days especially. It's just, this has been an experience, my Marine Corps experience, the Bird 18 project, life since. This is something that I don't believe anybody will ever duplicate because of the way I did it. They'll do it differently or not at all, and they'll move on too. But this is, my whole life has been an opportunity of positive experience, positive reinforcement, and my family is a big piece of that. They're very good about that. My wife is absolutely phenomenal about taking care of business. But I think I see so much that's going on in the world today, especially in this country, and it concerns me that the history is starting to repeat itself. And that's disheartening because we know how it turned out the first time. And we broke a lot of people. You know, you can do 13 months in combat as an infantryman or a materials guy or aircraft. And they'll learn to adapt to a situation, they'll succeed or maybe fail. But when you came home, they tore us apart in a matter of minutes. And that was really, we weren't prepared for that. And that sits hard with me today. I read an article shortly after I came home, for a couple of years, and I heard about how the new government of Vietnam was taking care of their veterans. And it was amazing. They obviously considered themselves the vanquishing army, and I guess they were. They're running that government today. But how they took care of their veterans, and I just wish we could have taken care of ours a little bit better. We heard stories about guys committing suicide at the VA because they had problems. I think the most harrowing for me when I came home was Hawaii Five-0 was a popular program on TV. And one week's series was about some ex-Vietnam vet that was up in some clock tower shooting at college kids. And I'm thinking, why do you have to be a vet? Because he can shoot? Shucks, a lot of people can shoot, a lot better than me. We didn't need that kind of thing in around here, but I guess it made for a good story. And if we could have just taken care of the people that I'm told we took care of, everybody would have been a lot happier. But we're seeing the same thing kind of go on now, not so much with the veterans, but just in general. You got to take care of your own, or we all fall apart.
Wise words.